What's up, my 1111 YouTube friends? Well, it's springtime here in Minnesota, so what do? Dig out the sleds and do some grass dragging. Yep, we're gonna drag a couple sleds today. We just got delivery on this one right here. 96 RMK, came from Colorado. Our good friend Taylor sold it to me. I get a phone call from him one day. He's like, he says, hey Todd, you remember that 96 RMK I bought? He says, yeah. My plans have changed and I really don't want it anymore. I'll sell you the motor and everything that's on the motor, but I want to keep the chassis. Well, that changed also. I ended up buying the chassis from him also, but I'm going to pull up the hood. I'm going to show you what's going on here. We also have another 96 over there, 96 XCR 600 that Trenton picked up for all the cool suspension stuff that's on that. And we're going to take the two sleds and we're going to build us a really cool hot rod. Trenton, why don't you pull up the hoods? Let's start with the RMK here, because this thing is just pure awesomeness underneath this hood. Absolute awesomeness. Yep, it's sporting just a little turbocharger on it. They were doing this back in the late 90s. They were putting turbos on the XLTs, 650s. They were putting turbos on everything. But this one happens to be all set up from back in the late 90s. This whole kit was put onto this XLT. Sled says 2,500 miles on it, so I don't know how many miles were actually put on it after the turbo kit was put on. But it's running. Taylor wrote it very minimal. He said he couldn't get it to quite run right. One thing we've noticed is that the battery was completely dead in it, and it's very dependent on the battery. And I'm not going to go through the whole explanation on how all this works right now. That's going to be in another video. Right now, I just want to show the two sleds. I want to tell you our idea of what we're looking to do. But this is a Series 60 turbo on here. Hen's teeth, dinosaur eggs is what I've been told. Never find another part for this thing, unfortunately. This is self-oiled. It's got a wick system in it that oils the bearing in it and stuff. So this is a pretty cool old turbocharger setup. So we're going to be using all that turbo setup, everything that's on there, and I'm going to put this sled all back to completely bone stock. It's such a clean survivor sled, rust-free. It's always been out west. Idaho is where it lived most of its life, was in Idaho. So it's such a clean, rust-free sled. Trent, let's pop the hood up on the XCR now. Take a look underneath there, and we'll talk a little bit about the suspension that this sled has. So it's an XCR 600. It's got the 38 carbs on it, which we may need to use on our upcoming build. But we're basically going to strip this whole sled down. This thing's going to get blown apart and completely gone through 100%. It's got the Northern Lights ultralight suspension in the front. The whole front end is all Northern Lights ultralight front end. It's even got a light steering rod in it. It's got a light steering post in it with the billet retainer with the greasable deal. It's even got the Northern Lights lightweight handlebars on it too. I don't think we'll be using those in our next project. Yeah, we're not mountain riders on these things, so I really don't need a mountain bar for flat landing. And it's got a Holtz rear skid underneath it. So this sled Trenton picked up, really reasonable deal. There's the front arm, rear arm. Trenton picked this sled up a super reasonable deal. He bought it just for all the lightweight suspension in it. That's a killer deal right there, to get all that lightweight suspension. So here's the big plan. I've talked to a few people about these turbos, and I was told that, and this is probably argumentable, but XLT engine's not the best. The monoblock's not the best one to put a turbo on. As far as what we're going to do is we're going to stay with the 90s, try and build some kind of a mod sled that you'd build in the 90s. So we're going to go 650. I have plenty of 650 stuff. I have piles of cranks and cases and cylinders and pistons and heads, on and on and on. So basically, I'm going to build a good, stout, stock 650 engine. I'll have the crank all done. I'll have it glued together, Loctited, whatever you want to call it. They don't really weld them anymore. Some shops still do, but most shops Loctite them all together. So I'll have a nice crank built for it. So we got a good stout base, but I'm going to run stock pistons, stock bore, stock porting, everything. We're forcing the air into the engine. So you don't need all that fancy go-fast stuff because you're pushing all the air and fuel into the engine. So we'll build a 650 motor for this chassis here. We'll use this chassis. It's a good chassis. And the plan is we'll stretch it to a 136, use all the lightweight suspension. And I think we're going to build a 92 pumpkin clone is what we're going to do. We're going to go Nice gloss black on the hood. We'll get all the pumpkin decals for it. Build us a nice little hot rod pumpkin clone with a turbocharged 650 in it. It should be a really fun build. We'll start this summer with blowing all this stuff down, getting everything powder coated, pressure washed, and everything that we normally do. And then we'll start building the engine and stuff. And then in a couple of videos coming up, I'm going to go through and actually somewhat try and explain how this all works with a carb turbo blow-through system. I've been explained it to me, kind of makes sense in my head, but there's a lot going on down here. In future videos, I'll explain what all this does to actually make this work on a carb engine. I've had a turboed mountain sled. Years ago, I built a turboed two-stroke mountain sled, 250 horsepower, but it was fuel injected, and I could turn all my fuel settings off of a plug-and-play deal. So this is a different animal with it carbureted. So I have a little bit of an idea how a turbo will work on here, but I'm no professional when it comes to carburetors. So I reached out to somebody, and he explained a lot to me. But I think at this point, these two guys want to line them up, and let's see the difference between turboed and no turbo. And like I said, I don't even know if this is working correctly. We charged the battery, so we hope that the extra electric fuel pump comes on and pushes extra fuel into it. We hope we're not doing something stupid here. But we're going to cross our fingers and hope for the best. So we'll get these guys on them, and we'll do a little grass drag. It seemed like it walked pretty quickly.
It built about 10 pounds of boost.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, like I said, we don't want to push this thing to the limits because we're not 100% sure that the extra fuel pump's coming on to pump the fuel into the engine. So what we're doing right now is not the smartest of things. But we got to play and have a little bit of fun. I mean, come on. That was pretty awesome. I mean, that as soon as it came out and you could hear the boost come on and it was gone. So we're going to let them sit here and cool for just a second. I don't think they probably built much heat, but I'm really concerned about the turbo sled building heat fast. But these guys are going to switch and see if the results are the same or if it's just the rider. We don't know. But we'll find out here in a hurry. It spins for a while after you shut it off. That was pretty fun.
Pull your arms.
You'll pull your arms?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's nice.
Not no typical monoblock under the hood?
No. Sleeper.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You guys kind of come out of the hole like right next to each other, then it's just instant done.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's fun.
yeah, it puts the power on. Did you happen to look down at the boost at all? Or?
Yeah, I was hitting right, about 9, 10.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Probably a little more than we should be running for boost on this engine. But I can adjust it, but I don't know a lot about this set of system. This guy I talked to the other night told me a ton, and I could adjust it, but we're done with this sled now. This is coming apart. We're gonna put it all back to bone stock, and we're gonna probably sell it. Would be my guess. I don't know. We'll keep it around for a while, but it's such a nice sled, and I like nice sleds, but I don't know. I think somebody else could appreciate this thing probably more than I probably could. So I want to keep it all back to bone stock. That's how I want to, put it all back to. So, but we'll build that one over there. It's a perfect candidate because it's a brat. We can take it all apart and build what we want to build out of that sled over there. But yeah, we just want to do a video with a comparison of turbo versus no turbo. And I think if the runway would have been a lot longer, there would have been a lot more sleds between them, that's for sure. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned on this build. This is going to be a fun project. And as always, thanks Josh for the use of his longer yard. So, yeah, we can't quite pull this off in our yard. So, but yeah, once again, guys, stay tuned. We'll be building a custom turboed 650 out of this stuff. Thanks a lot.